On the 26th of December 2023, Rasmus Højlund scored an 82nd minute winning goal in a 3-2 victory for Manchester United against Aston Villa. It marked a remarkable turnaround for the Red Devils, who were 2-0 down at half-time. The celebrations for this goal were wild, but this outpouring of emotion from Højlund and his teammates was not really because of the comeback they had just achieved. It was more an opportunity to praise and applaud Højlund for finally scoring his first goal in the Premier League. Even goalkeeper Andre Onana sprinted the whole length of the pitch to give his congratulations to his teammate who had failed to score in his first 14 league games. For Højlund himself, it was clear this moment provided him with the deepest sense of relief. After weeks of media attention calling him a fraud and another expensive Man United flop after his £72 million move from Atalanta 4 months earlier. Fast forward a couple of months later, and at the time of recording, Rasmus Højlund has become the youngest player in Premier League history to score in 6 consecutive games. Those in the media who had previously doubted him have no choice but to admit that Højlund looks the real deal. So what changed for Højlund? How did he go from one of the most frustrating goal droughts seen by a striker to one of the most confident and goal-happy players in the Premier League? Well, nothing really changed, because despite the building pressure and scrutiny that came with every game he didn't score, Højlund continued to show something that is dying among modern-day athletes: persistence. In today's video, we will explore the 3 pillars of persistence that enabled Rasmus Højlund to not be fazed or concerned by the pressure that came with having to wait 4 months for his first Premier League goal. And the good news is, these are all things that you can apply to your own athletic journey. Persistence is a skill you can learn. So let's get started. 2 months before his first Premier League goal, Rasmus Højlund gave an interview to ManUnited.com. And in that interview, despite people starting to pay attention to the fact that he had not scored a goal in the Premier League, Højlund calmly said, "I reckon I've had a fine start to the season, and now we have to keep building and the goals will come in the Premier League." And it is in this statement we see the first pillar of persistence that every athlete facing a less than perfect run in form should look to incorporate into their game. And that is pragmatic optimism. Essentially what this means is that you adopt a mindset that combines a positive outlook with a realistic understanding of the world. Many athletes will bullshit themselves with overconfidence and be deluded to the reality of the situation. But in that quote, Højlund is completely fair in his assessment. At that time of the interview, he had managed to score 3 goals in the Champions League, but had gone 6 games without scoring in the Premier League. Using the word fine to describe his start to the season shows that he's being pragmatic, meaning he's being realistic. He's not being too harsh on himself, but he's also not kidding himself by claiming that he's been better, nor is he making any excuses. And in the second part of his quote, he shows the optimism necessary to change his situation and continue to persist despite not yet reaching the heights that he knows he's capable of. Having this belief allowed Højlund to keep persisting for another couple of months, despite not getting the reward of the goal that he was so desperate for. To start building the same pragmatic optimism yourself, you can use the 1-2-3 reframe technique. This helps you reframe negative thoughts into more positive and constructive ones. Because if you think about it, it would have been very easy for Højlund to just start feeling more pessimistic with every game that he didn't score. So here's how you can apply the 1-2-3 reframe. So the 1 is to identify a negative thought. When faced with challenges or poor performance, you should identify the main overarching negative thought that you're having that may hinder your persistence. So it could be, "I'll never score again." Then the 2 is to challenge and reframe. For this negative thought, you should come up with 2 ways to challenge its accuracy and reframe it into a more positive or constructive light. For example, instead of thinking, "I'll never score again," you could reframe it as, "The goals are coming, they're just late," or "I'll get a better chance to score in the next game." And the reason to have 2 ways is to give your mind more belief that there are many different ways to challenge and reframe the initial negative thought. And then finally, the 3 is to focus on solutions. Here you need to shift the focus from dwelling on the negative to brainstorming practical solutions and actionable steps to actually make improvements. And ideally what you want to do is list 3 practical actions you can take to change your situation. So it may be doing extra shooting practice, watching videos of the best strikers on YouTube, and asking for advice from your coach. Taking these actions helps you as an athlete maintain the optimism necessary while proactively addressing the factors contributing to your poor form. Right, so for the next pillar of persistence, let's take a moment to watch Højlund's recent post-match interview after scoring 2 goals against Luton Town.
Everybody knows that in the first months of your Manchester United career, you were scoring goals in the Champions League, but you had to be patient in the Premier League. You've just become the youngest player in Premier League history to score in 6 consecutive league games. You can't stop scoring at the moment.
Yeah, I think I need to say thanks to my teammates as well and the coach, because they have showed me confidence, great confidence, and kept believing in me. I knew as well that I could score goals, but of course it was annoying that I didn't score in the Premier League. But yeah, we are here now.
What did you notice? Well, the first thing Højlund did was thank his teammates and coach for showing him belief and confidence. His persistence, therefore, is also the result of social support. Teammates and coaches form a unique support system, a network that goes beyond the pitch. During his goalless streak that lasted 14 games, Højlund found solace and motivation in the strong bonds that he'd formed with the team. And it was clear that they rated him and valued him in their response to his first goal against Aston Villa. Research in sports psychology consistently emphasizes the positive impact of social support on an athlete's mental resilience and ability to persist. In terms of adversity, a team becomes a source of emotional reinforcement, encouragement, and understanding. It's a place where an athlete can share their challenges without fear or judgment. Because when things are not going well, it's super easy to get caught up in the cycle of negative thinking inside your own head. We all have a tendency to be overly critical of ourselves, but teammates and coaches, if they're on our side, will give us the encouragement needed to get through those tough times. They offer another perspective and will sometimes force us to see that perspective. Despite firing many blanks early on in his Premier League career, Højlund's manager Erik ten Hag would always back him in interviews. And what's interesting is that ten Hag would often comment on Højlund's character rather than his performances. After his 2 goals against Luton, ten Hag came out and said, "We are very happy with our recruitment, that we recruited the right character because he can perform under stress." And so to build your sense of persistence through social support, it's important to surround yourself around coaches and teammates who give you character-based feedback. What we mean by this is them recognizing and shining light on the positive parts of your character and personality. Because typically these are things that are quite fixed and enduring, and therefore we take more notice of them as they are markers of our true identity. Even if you're going through a bad run of form, not getting picked or coming back from injury, if you have people in your corner who tell you things like, "You're the type of guy or girl who could handle this," you're very likely to listen and sustain that belief about yourself. Focusing on this kind of feedback allows you to persist because you don't get overly caught up in the external, and instead you keep your focus on the internal and what you can then control in terms of your behavior to live out those characteristics and traits that other people see in you. It also makes you more motivated to succeed, to repay the faith that others have shown in you. And this then ties into the last pillar of persistence that Rasmus Højlund has shown in order to finally get up and running in the league. So when you look at some of Højlund's stats, an interesting picture emerges. Before Christmas, he was taking 1.7 shots per 90 minutes, and that fell to 1.5 from Boxing Day onwards after he got his first goal. This comes despite touches in the box per 90 minutes rising from 4.6 to 5.1. And then what's also interesting is that his passes per 90 minutes have also increased from 14.3 to 15.6. So what those numbers show is that as time has gone on, Højlund has become a little more active in the penalty area, but he's also become more willing to pick out a teammate, which is a bit counterintuitive. You would think that he'd be wanting to take more shots to build upon his first goal. But instead, what this shows is that Højlund is the master of showing the final pillar of persistence, and perhaps its closest cousin, patience. When experiencing a bad period as an athlete, it becomes all too easy to try and force it due to our desperation to fix whatever it is that's going wrong. And the problem is, as you will have experienced, sometimes when we try too hard, we end up performing worse. We overthink things, we're too tense in our bodies, and the extra stress causes us to lose control and not be able to enter that flow state that's needed for optimal performance. But Højlund has shown that in order to perform his best, he needs to be content with not looking to score every time he gets the ball. He values being a team player, and he's been praised by many in the Man United camp for his link-up play. And this makes it obvious why his teammates love celebrating with him when he does score. And as Højlund shows, patience isn't about being passive. Throughout his drought and up to his more recent prolific performances, he's trained relentlessly and tried to have an impact on every game that he's played, even if that means setting up other teammates for success. He realized that despite outcomes not being perfect for him, he could still stick to the process of playing with the intention and belief that he would soon enough get amongst the goals. His consistency and effort, despite a lot of bad luck and criticism for many months, shows that he's become a true master of athletic persistence. So how can you also maintain consistency in your efforts, despite not getting the immediate rewards that you're looking for as an athlete? Well, check out this next video here to find out more.